The weight of history can crush a man, especially when that history is intimately intertwined with personal tragedy. Imagine Prince William standing in the echoing vastness of Westminster Abbey, not for a wedding, not for a funeral, but for a rehearsal. A rehearsal for the moment he ascends to the throne, the moment he officially becomes King William. 28 years. 28 years since that horrific night in Paris, since the world lost Diana Spencer, the people's princess, the Queen of Hearts. The air itself seemed thick with unspoken memories, the scent of white lilies, Diana's favorite, a ghostly perfume clinging to the ancient stones. He was no longer the cherubic boy clutching his mother's hand. He was a man, etched with the lines of responsibility and shadowed by a grief that time hadn't erased. The tailored black suit couldn't mask the haunted look in those deep blue eyes, Diana's eyes. The only outward adornment, a simple Welsh gold wedding band, a silent promise to Kate, and a tangible link to his past. But hidden, nestled within his breast pocket, lay a secret, a symbol, a silver gilt coronet, a miniature crown born from Diana's own sketches. A testament to a charity she dreamed of, a charity she envisioned as the people's crown. Now, consider the other figure in this royal drama, Camilla. Her path to acceptance has been a long and arduous climb. From her early connection with Charles in the 1970 seconds, long before Diana even entered the picture, to her marriage to Andrew Parker Bowles, her subsequent divorce, and finally, her controversial union with Charles. The title of Queen Consort, bestowed upon her when Charles ascended the throne, felt like a victory hard won, yet forever tainted by the ghost of Diana. In that abbey, she sat, a study in controlled composure, pearl green dress, silver hair neatly coiffed, white-gloved hands clutching a handbag. 20 years she'd spent cultivating an image of unwavering support, the steadfast partner. But the weariness in her eyes betrayed the truth. Diana's presence still haunted those hallowed halls, a constant reminder of what could have been, of what was lost. The temporary throne, a formidable oak chair dating back to the 14th century, stood as a stark symbol of impending power. The silence was absolute, broken only by the mournful strains of Candle in the Wind, a melody forever linked to Diana's memory. William moved with a deliberate grace, each step on the crimson carpet resonating with the weight of expectation. His mind was a whirlwind of images. Diana in white, the Spencer tiara sparkling, the roar of the crowds, the intoxicating scent of joy perfume, the crushing headlines branding her unstable. And then he stopped before the throne, the moment of truth. His hand moved, almost instinctively, into his pocket, retrieving the silver gilt coronet. Candlelight danced across its surface, transforming it into a constellation of tiny stars. He placed it, silently, deliberately, on the crimson velvet cushion. A statement. This, he seemed to say, was the real crown, not the street. Edward's crown, heavy with tradition, soon to be placed upon his head. And certainly not the crown. Camilla, quietly, perhaps not so quietly, aspired to. His eyes met Camilla's. A fleeting moment, yet the abbey itself seemed to hold its breath. Her face tightened, her lips forming a thin, hard line. She understood, perhaps better than anyone. This wasn't just about symbolism. It was about loyalty, about legacy, about a son's unwavering devotion to his mother. William turned and walked away, his posture rigid, his steps measured, but within him, a fire had ignited. A rebellion against the perceived injustices of the past, a fierce determination to honor the woman who had shaped him. 3 days later, the dam burst. A letter, undeniably from William, the ink, a deep ocean blue against the creamy Kensington Palace stationery, hit the media like a lightning strike. 3 lines. That's all it took to send shockwaves through the monarchy and around the world. To me, there is only one true queen, and she is no longer here. No date, no signature. Yet its power was undeniable. The People's Crown exploded online. A digital tidal wave of support and speculation. A silent act in a hallowed cathedral had morphed into a global declaration, leaving the British monarchy teetering on the precipice of another crisis. Within a week, the atmosphere inside the palace was suffocating, thick with unspoken whispers replaced conversations, and every corridor seemed to hum with impending doom. A confrontation was inevitable. rehearsal, and it played out in Clarence House, Camilla's carefully curated domain, far from the prying eyes of Buckingham Palace. The drawing room, with its navy silk walls and portraits of long-dead royals, radiated an icy authority. Camilla, seated behind an antique writing desk, her face etched with determination, invoked a clause Charles had signed shortly after becoming king. A seemingly insignificant detail on paper, it granted the queen consort absolute control over royal ceremonies and titles, ostensibly to ensure unity and respect. But Camilla had weaponized, turning it into a gilded trap. William entered, devoid of pleasantries, his charcoal suit impeccable, his posture unyielding. He knew this wasn't a family chat, it was a trial disguised as protocol. Camilla wasted no time. A formally printed document, emblazoned with the royal seal, lay on the desk. She tapped it, the sound echoing in the tense silence. The order was simple, yet devastating. William was to use the title Her Majesty the Queen in all official correspondence and public pronouncements. It wasn't about etiquette, it was about forcing him to acknowledge her authority, to erase Diana's legacy. It's purely administrative. Camilla's voice was steady, almost clinical, meant to avoid any unfortunate confusion after the Abbey. William didn't flinch. His gaze remained locked on Camilla's. Unwavering, unreadable. He saw through the carefully constructed facade, the readiness to twist legalities into tools of personal power, even if it meant obliterating Diana's memory. Signing that paper felt like signing away the last vestige of his mother's honor. His silence wasn't hesitation. It was a shield. The longer he remained mute, the more unnerved Camilla became. She was accustomed to argument, strategic disagreements, polite warfare. This unbroken quiet, coupled with his unwavering stare, was a tactic she hadn't anticipated. "Are you hearing me, William?" She snapped, her composure cracking. "This will restore order. Your father wants this settled without conflict." Finally, William spoke, his voice soft yet resolute, devoid of anger, filled only with an unshakable conviction. "Your Majesty," he stressed the title deliberately. Titles are meant to honor service and duty. When used to sanctify offense, they become instruments of personal ambition. His words cut through her practiced diplomacy like a shard of ice. Camilla's mask slipped. The years of careful cultivation faltered. She stood abruptly, the leather chair groaning in protest. "Offense?" she shouted, her voice raw with suppressed resentment. "I am protecting this family's dignity. The dignity your mother nearly destroyed with her reckless behavior." A flicker of fury ignited in William's eyes, the first visible crack in his composure. He instinctively touched his wedding band, once Diana's, now Kate's, as if invoking her spirit. "My mother forgave those who wronged her," he replied, his tone glacial. "I have not." He inhaled deeply, regaining control. Dragging out this moment would only make things worse. He bowed his head slightly, a gesture devoid of warmth. "I won't sign this," he stated, his voice ringing with finality. "Not now. Not ever." Before Camilla could respond, William turned and walked out, disappearing into the dim hallway. Leaving Camilla alone with the unsigned document, the silence of the room pressing down on her like a shroud. She had sought to assert control, but she had been defeated by a son's unwavering loyalty. In that moment, she understood that the true battle for the monarchy had begun. And she would fight it on the ground she knew best, public perception. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Camilla, never one for subtle maneuvering when cornered, unleashed a carefully orchestrated campaign of character assassination. 2 formal letters, dripping with royal ice, landed on the desk of William's closest advisors, both of whom had been fiercely loyal to Diana. These weren't just political strategists. They were the last threads connecting William to his mother's world, to the values she instilled in him. Their dismissal, masked as a routine royal staff shakeup under Queen Camilla's authority, was a calculated strike, severing William's lifeline and sending a chilling message. Anyone associated with Diana was expendable. William received the news in silence, but the temperature in the room plummeted. A profound sense of isolation descended upon him. It was clear this wasn't about efficiency, it was about control. Then came the deluge. Newspapers and tabloids, seemingly in lockstep, regurgitated the same narrative. William, aloof and entitled, incapable of embracing the modern monarchy, emotionally stunted by his unwavering devotion to the past. Minor quirks, his reserved demeanor, his dislike of small talk, were magnified into glaring flaws. evidence that he was unfit to lead a nation craving unity. The underlying question, subtly woven into every headline, was a devastating blow. Was this heir truly ready to rule? But the smear campaign backfired spectacularly. It only fueled William's resolve. He saw Camilla's strategy for what it was: to undermine him before the coronation, to paint him as an isolated idealist the public couldn't trust. Everyone expected him to fall back on the royal motto: never complain, never explain. But William was his mother's son. Silence wasn't in his DNA. He chose the only weapon he truly trusted: open communication. A rare interview was arranged with a respected journalist, not as a defensive maneuver, but as a way to set the record straight. The setting was stark: an old library stripped of royal trappings. William sat in a worn leather chair, his expression serious as he faced the camera. He didn't attack Camilla. He didn't even acknowledge the orchestrated attack. He spoke about loyalty, about remembrance, about his mother's guidance, about what a crown truly represented: service, not authority. And then he uttered the words everyone had been waiting for, the words his advisors had begged him to keep silent, the words he knew were necessary. Queen Camilla is a member of this family, and I respect the position granted to her by law. But for me, and I know for countless others, she will never be the queen in my heart. That honor, that crown, is eternally held by the woman who taught me compassion. The statement, polite yet devastating, broke no rules, yet shattered Camilla's moral authority. It transformed their conflict from a political squabble into a battle for the very soul of the monarchy. The interview went viral. People across the globe stopped to listen. In William's voice, they heard authenticity, a rare commodity in the gilded world of royalty. They saw a son's unwavering devotion, a willingness to risk everything for the truth of his mother's legacy. The true queen trended alongside images of Diana's radiant smile. William supporters weren't just nostalgic admirers of the past. They were citizens yearning for genuine leadership. William was no longer just the future king. He was the defender of Diana's memory, crowned by the public with a symbolic crown forged from collective loyalty. Camilla's media offensive had created the very figure she feared most. Camilla, realizing that subtle tactics had failed, craved a grand public display to reclaim control. The Inspiring Women 2025 charity gala at the Royal Albert Hall, a glittering event attracting royalty, celebrities, and global press, provided the perfect stage. She planned an elaborate production, intending to subtly usurp Diana's legacy, presenting herself as the rightful heir to her compassion. William, unaware of the ambush, sat alone in the front row, his eyes scanning the hall, a sea of gowns and jewels. He knew the gala's theme, but had no idea he was about to become an unwilling player in a royal drama. Camilla took the stage to polite applause, regal in a deep emerald gown. After a brief speech on women's empowerment, she gestured to the massive screen behind her. The hall fell silent. A banner appeared, a digitally fabricated image of Camilla standing beside Diana's statue at Kensington Palace, creating the illusion of closeness. Below, in gold letters, generational reconciliation. One crown, one legacy. The room froze. This wasn't homage, it was appropriation. Camilla was using Diana's image as both a shield and a weapon to legitimize her queenship. William felt a surge of icy fury. He saw the engineered falsification, his mother's gentle likeness forced beside the woman who had caused her so much pain. He stood abruptly, towering over the audience. Heads turned. On stage, Camilla's triumphant expression crumbled. William didn't speak. He walked to the front of the stage, brushing past a startled security guard. He approached a production manager at the lighting control. His voice, low and commanding, brooked no argument. "Take it down now," the organizer stammered, claiming royal approval. William cut him off, his tone colder than steel. "Remove it. This image is falsified. Take it down now." The resistance collapsed. The screen went dark. Chaos erupted. Cameras flashed. The gala dissolved into a frenzy. Camilla, visibly shaken, her face flushed, her mask shattered, made a hasty exit. Her posture stiff, her expression a glare of defeat. The event was abruptly canceled. By dawn, headlines screamed about the Royal Albert Hall confrontation, the first public clash between William and Camilla, a sign that the monarchy's facade of stability had cracked. William had sent a clear message. He would never allow his mother's name to be exploited.